Okay. Hi, most of you know me, but I'm Aisling Rusk, architect, director of Studio Itter. I've had the absolute pleasure of co-teaching with Agustina in the Street Space Studio this year. I am so inspired by the talent and the passion and hard work of all the students. It's been an absolute honour to do it. So Agustina asked me to speak to you today about the way architects in practice can work in and with and for communities. So this has been something that I've had an interest in since I was at the stage that these students are at, doing my part 2 in Cardiff, where I looked at the peace walls in Belfast and mapped them. It was 2009, I mapped them for the first time. They hadn't all been mapped in one place together, which tells one story. I'll talk a bit more about maps in a minute, but a thing that I quickly realised is that I actually had much more interest in the stories that cross the walls, the good and the bad, and the things that people's lived experience of division and of a space, rather than just the sort of diagrammatic analysis. This quote was one that really stuck with me. Has anyone recognised that and spotted that out and about in Belfast? On a peace wall, North Belfast? It's Duncairn Gardens. It's just, yeah, that's all I'm saying. After that experience, my feet would not take me out of my front door. That's one of the peace walls on Duncairn Gardens that closes off what used to be a road. So this became the focus of my PhD then, where I looked at ways that architects can practice that sort of connect across division or embrace that creative potential in the sort of space between people, practices, places, and that is hence a big important focus in my practice, which is called Studio Itter, the Irish word for between, being itter. So then in 2019 we had an opportunity. We applied for a bit of funding to look for Department of Justice to look at the peace walls. Obviously jumped at the chance. So this is the one in the Ardoyne. It's one of the longest in the city. I think it's 650 metres long. We were asked to explore concepts for the potential removal of the wall, speaking with people who lived, in particular those that lived backing onto it on both sides. There's another example of a road that's been permanently cut off, and on the other side of that fence you can see in the picture, a house has been built now, so that road will never be opened up again. We're big fans of models. I think models allow you to look at a familiar place from a completely different angle and see connections that you maybe can't see when you're walking about in it. So that's the model of the peace wall runs down the middle of that in white card you can just about see. But we don't do all the model making ourselves. Anyone and all ages can get involved. So these are little houses we made as a little foil that anybody can colour in, cut out, stick together. These ones in the photograph were made by preschoolers at the Wishing Well Family Centre in the Upper Ardoyne. And we used them to demonstrate the visual impact of different types of walls and what that would have on the natural light and view from houses and their gardens. Because a lot of the people we were speaking to were asking to have the wall made higher or more solid out of brick. We also looked at concepts, just really quickly drawing up things that came out of the conversations we were having and our walks around the area. I think it's a really useful way to illustrate ideas and make them more tangible, feel more achievable to people. So this ability to spatialise and illustrate ideas is another skill architects bring to the table in community conversations. Now, we were asked by the local stakeholders at the time to have 2 meetings, one at either side of the wall with the 2 communities and different community centres. We were told that even at those meetings, only the loudest voices would be heard. And while we respected the need to make an environment where people would be comfortable to share, it didn't sit well with us, the idea that we had to have 2 meetings. So instead, we hired a vintage yellow camper van called Daisy and drove it around the wall, making various stops. We put our work on, displayed it on it, and in it had activities for the kids, lollies, free badges. A little video I'll show you now that will describe that, hopefully. on it again. Another project where we worked on then, this time during COVID, was an exploration of Belfast's many alleyways. We're conscious of the social values these had taken on, in particular during the pandemic, and so we applied for funding from Necessity in England to map them and explore their sort of complicated issues around ownership, around maintenance, gating processes, and so on. So we looked at some of the sort of success stories, the nicer ones like Wildflower Alley, and some of the more problematic ones like in the Holy Lands, and started gathering stories about the alleyways. We had the goal of getting 100 stories, which we eventually got to, which are displayed on the interactive map on the 9 Foot in Common website. Sorry, 9 Foot in Common is the name of the project, with Starling Start, Amberley Neely. My favourite story of all on there is Eunice Yates' story of a tortoise that they found in their alley in East Belfast. And it turned out it belonged to a neighbour a couple of doors down that had lost it 9 months previously. It's just been living its best life in the alley. So there you go. Again, we mapped the alleys just to get the idea of the kind of bigger picture. And there's a real power in making maps. Every map is necessarily a reduction, leaving out loads of detail to highlight the particular important things that you want to draw attention to. So communities that make maps with architects or with planners or artists are taking control of the message in a way. You know, there's a power in that. So here, for example, we included all the parks in Belfast and its sort of very fragmented greenways to really emphasise the alley's potential as part of Belfast's green infrastructure. Just zooming in for a minute, you probably can't see very well, but the black ones are gated, officially gated. The brown ones are other adopted alleys that aren't gated, and then the green are unadopted. Again, we used quick sketches and concepts to illustrate some of the ideas that were emerging as part of our conversations, and turned these into little individual postcards that we handed out in some of the more recent walks, and posters that we put up, including during the Limon Alley Festival, Art in the Alleys with Maeve McElgorm. And so we did a lot of walking and talking in the alleys, including with the mayor in her high heels, the former mayor. And during Limon Alley, we also got to trial some of these concepts in real life, because architects can also make things, or rather delegate other people to make things at full scale, which was fascinating. So we'd fold down benches, we had mirrors on corners to help you see around them, the idea of naming alleys, the idea of commissioning public art in the alleys, this one on a gate. So our latest exploration, just to finish quickly, is in Ballyhackamore in East Belfast, where we're based and where I live. We have been engaged as part of a project by SOA, Self-Organised Architecture in Dublin, funded by the Irish Arts Council to reimagine elderhood in our neighbourhood. Once again, we're making models. We're inviting people to come and talk to us with posters and postcards through letterboxes, and we're having a workshop meeting next week. Agustina is going to run a mobilities workshop in. We're asking questions, and we're using our design skills to come up with design ideas that are and solutions in response to the things people raise around their idea of growing older in Ballyhackamore and how it could be better for that. And that's a conversation that we can be having with all ages of people. So yeah, we did a questionnaire, and we only launched it 2 days ago, but already people are starting to respond. So architects can do questionnaires too, not as well as the likes of Brendan, who's an expert in them. But yeah, it's fascinating to just the engagement, and so we're making that available. We'll be asking people at the workshop to fill it in, but it's also available online for anybody to fill in. So just trying to make what we're doing accessible at lots of levels for different types of people. One last point before I stop, I just want to acknowledge the role that our long-term collaborator, creative practitioner Amberley Neely of Starling Start, formerly of Place, plays in all that we do. Photographed here in an alley with me, taken by Simon Mills. I just want to use that point to acknowledge that architects, while highly skilled, can achieve nothing in communities without good partners and collaborators like yourselves, who all bring their own equally valuable forms of expertise in a local area to the table. Especially important is the local knowledge of the people who live in a place. As architects, that we don't often work in our own area, we're normally working somewhere else. So I see the 3 key roles as architects are to graphically analyse space, as you can see so well in the handouts today, to spatialise ideas and solutions, and to visually illustrate these through drawings, maps and models. Thanks very much.